6 o'clock. So welcome everyone to the Sustainability Committee of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, this March 17th, 2022. It's 6 p.m. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day. See lots of green. That's good. See some with not so much green. They'll get pinched. Can we please have a roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, four. Okay, there, thank you. Okay. Dr. Mickett?
Present.
Robin Sanger? Taylor Mandalou?
Here.
Denise Menino?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Robinson?
Here.
Chairperson Larson?
Present.
Karen Gallagher?
All right, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from February 17th of 2022. So we're going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to go ahead and do the minutes from last month's meeting. And then we've got quite a few that still need to be kind of caught up, but we're going to do it a little bit like closer proximity. It's more important. So we're going to do that first, and then we'll get caught up as we can get caught up. So does anybody have any issue with the minutes, or would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a minor substitution to the minutes, and this is in section 5, which reads presentation, Whitcomb Bayou, presentation, presented, et cetera, et cetera. If you scroll all the way down to the 19th line in that paragraph, it currently says Vice Chairperson Paul Robinson suggested the idea of recycling existing rocks currently at Whitcomb Bayou and utilizing them as riprap. I want to change that to the following. Vice Chairman Paul Robinson suggested recycling the rocks which currently serve as riprap or revetment. These rocks can be relocated into the water of the bayou, becoming the deepest line of a living shoreline. This living shoreline, moving from furthest to closest to shore, would be comprised of number 1, rocky breakwater, number 2, salt marsh of smooth cordgrass, or in parentheses, spartina, and 3, mangroves. So I wrote that down.
Could you just provide that so that
Yeah.
she has
Yeah.
the corrected language that you'd like?
Yep.
Great.
Anybody
Thank
want
you.
to pass this down?
I think, sorry, first we need to excuse the absence of Robin Sanger before we can,
Has she requested
on.
an excuse?
no.
Then we don't need to do that, I don't
Oh,
think.
Okay, I don't know.
So I have a question about the change that you're asking.
Yes.
Only for the sake of understanding. Does it change the actual conversation that was had?
Yes.
So can we do that? Because the minutes are a transcription of what was spoken at that meeting, not additions or subtractions from that, so.
I'm not adding anything to what I said. There's just there's an awful lot of terminology used here. Revetment, riprap, breakwater, living shoreline. I was just clarifying and just saying what I said, but all that is new in anything I said was adding the 3 numbers. That's exactly what I said. But here, it sounds like we would take the rocks that exist and turn them into riprap. In fact, they are already riprap. It's just that when Bob Robertson talks about them, he talks about them as revetment, but they're riprap. So you don't take them where they are and put them and create riprap with them. So I was just reiterating what I said. So it's not really any kind of an addition to what I said.
So do we have a motion, or?
Motion to approve the minutes from February 17th with the amendments.
With the amendments, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to our next item, which is a follow-up on the sustainability branding. So, Robin, do you want to walk us through the sustainability logo?
Sure. Taking the feedback from our last meeting, I've come back with a couple other options. I do want to put it out there that this probably will not be the final product. It's more of improving the concept. Then we can kind of get some more professionals involved to get it where it needs to be. So that being said, I can pull up the 3 options on the computer now. We can go through them that way.
That sounds great. For the folks at home, so they can all see them, because I've got them on my computer. I like that.
Okay, so this one is logo option 1. The main feedback from the previous meeting was that the seaweed didn't really look, I guess, up to par, like how the committee was probably envisioning. So here's one option. Here's another option, slightly different. And option 3 has a colorful background, which was a suggestion brought up at the last meeting.
All right, thank you. So, discussion about the 3 options that are presented tonight. Karen, does this kind of, the blue, is that what you were, did she?
You hit it.
Perfect.
On the
Oh,
head.
great.
Only because I think on white background, like, that just contains it a little bit. I do like it the other way. With all white, it's just there. It's not contained. I don't know. So,
I could see this being a really cool sticker. Like,
that's what I'm thinking, like the back of your car. You know how they have the.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I really like that. I mean, that's, thank you for putting out these options. Still not a fan of number 1 because I like the extra seagrass.
That over here, too.
Did you? From who, Paul?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the extra seagrass.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Were the seagulls and the anchor there last time and I just didn't see
Yes.
them? Okay. fine.
That's the city's new,
It's
That's
really,
there. That's there.
it's really nice.
I like it. All right, so any other thoughts?
I like this one.
Yeah, I think you did great, Robin.
Yeah, thank you.
That's my feedback.
We
this
really
is-
like
Thank you.
the convergence of the committee's thoughts. So next steps, we'll take this to the city manager and ask that, let him know that you all support this one. And see what he wants to do next, which may include bringing it to the board. We'll see what he suggests. But the goal would be to get something we can start branding ourselves with.
All right, excellent. Okay, so next item is an update on public engagement. So we've got 2 things. So the first is the public engagement plan, and then the second are the workshops. So Robin, you want to walk us through where we are with public engagement so far?
Sure, I'm happy to. So we've already put out a couple different pushes, various platforms. I think to date we've made 3 social media posts on the City of Tarpon Springs Facebook page. As you know, we've filmed and published the videos to advertise, and those are on YouTube on the City of Tarpon Springs City Hall page. They are also on Connect Tarpon. They are also on the City of Tarpon Springs Sustainability website, and they were also recently put on the City Hall Facebook page. Additionally, I've started handing out flyers. I dropped them off at the library as well as paper copies of surveys. Those are also available already at the rec center. And, excuse me. So those paper copies are available upon request, we did order the 100, well, not 100% recyclable, but we ordered recycled content paper. That is also 100% recyclable, of course. We wrote that directly on the flyer so that it is clear. And that is what I'm printing all of the flyers on. As you can see, I gave you all a stack of paper. I am hoping that you may be able to spread that in your personal networks wherever you feel it would be useful. And if you would like any more, I'm happy to print more on our recycled paper and give that to you. Additionally, the recreation staff has been very helpful. And not only did they help us film the videos, but they have also been bringing our flyer to their events. So they brought it to the most recent First Friday, the most recent concert series. They brought it to the most recent beach cleanup. And after all of these events, we got additional survey responses. So you definitely see a direct impact. Also, after every Facebook post, we received additional responses. I will be attending the upcoming First Friday and the upcoming Sunset Beach series with the recreation staff, working together to try to get additional public engagement. Additionally, I will be attending the upcoming Knowledge and Nibbles series at Craig Park as well. I did attend Touch a Truck, and we got some great engagement from the community at that event. Additionally, I'm looking out for other events, and I've been working with departments to get them the flyers so that they can also hand them out wherever possible. Additionally, we might have them, well, I think we will definitely have them present at the upcoming Arbor Day celebration in the library, which is kind of a week-long commemoration of Earth Day and Arbor Day. So those will be present there. We also had our Economic Development Director send out the flyer in an email to all of the local businesses. And after we did that, we did receive a lot of responses from local businesses themselves. We encouraged them to hang up the flyer in their place of work. And I will be working with additional city staff to actually bring more flyers down to the sponge docks particularly. Have plans to work potentially with the Merchants Association in order to do that in the most effective way. But that is some of our upcoming public engagement in terms of advertising the survey. We have also translated the survey to Spanish. I'm working on I've translated the flyer. I have that available, still translating the survey. And Dory is working on translating it to Greek. So soon we will have that available and be pushing that out as well. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I would just like to say, wow, you've really done an incredible job, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
On that note, I wanted to say, do you realize she's not even been with us for 3 months? It's amazing.
awesome.
So she's really hit the ground running, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I have one question. I took the survey today, and when I clicked on all of the above, on the question about when do you anticipate climate change affecting you, or whatever that question is, I clicked on that and it said you were only allowed one answer or something to that effect. Is that deliberate? Because
I will have to look back over to make
Okay.
sure. It said you could put all of the above.
Well, all of the above is one of the answers in the multiple choice for that
Right.
question. And when I clicked on that, a little blue note came at the bottom and said, you can only pick one, And I thought,
Okay.
well, nuts, I'm going to keep going. So I went to the next one and said, pick 5. So I picked 5 and it said, you can only pick 5. So I thought,
Yeah, I programmed it with that notice.
telling me it thinks I've picked too many, so I continued and it didn't interfere with my finishing the survey. But
I think
don't know
it's,
if it would put somebody off who didn't.
They have an option when you're creating the survey to put limits, and that was what the committee had initially drafted for some questions was pick your top 3 or pick 5, or so I put in those rules to guide the questions. That you could only pick 5 for this one, or you could pick as many as you want for this other one. But I'll definitely go through it just to make sure it's lining up correctly.
When you said it was posted on the Facebook page, is that the city's Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay.
The general City of Tarpon Springs Facebook page and our recreation staff said that they will also be sharing it on their social media as well.
And I'd like to give a big shout out to the recreation staff because they were really helpful in coming out and doing the videos, and they've just been really, really great partners
Right.
in helping to get the word out. So thank you.
So one thought, this morning when I picked up, I think it's called the Beacon or the, in my driveway, and it was soaked all the way through. It was so disappointing. And would it be worth, I don't know if it costs anything to put information in there. Would it be worth, does anybody else read those?
I feel like instead of putting an ad in, we could try to like tell them get a story.
That's what I mean. I would like to introduce Robin as our sustainability coordinator, and a little information that Tarpon has a sustainability coordinator and sustainability committee. And by the way, go to this link or scan this QR code and take our survey. And I think you might hit a couple more people. And I think it's a great introduction to you, to the community, for you, to the community.
Is Jeff still
I
on
don't know if Jeff is
staff?
still, I haven't seen,
his
I
name
haven't
lately.
either. So I don't know if somebody else picked up Jeff's
That's a great
beat.
idea.
But
Somebody else has his beat, and I can't think of the guy's name.
I can't either. But I just, just in reading that this morning, I was like, am I the only one who reads this? Am I the only one that's bored?
That's a great idea. We'll follow up.
Okay, because I like that. And then the other thing I was going to suggest is a couple months ago, if you remember, Harry Fuller came to one of our meetings and commented that they were putting together like a North Pinellas civic organization,
yes,
like a
right.
group of all the heads and stuff like that. I'm happy to bring this up to, I'm a member of the Rotary Club. I'm happy to bring this to the Rotary Club and see if I can't put these flyers on everybody's table and then make a comment at the end that just says, please take a minute to fill this out. But Harry might be a great contact to go to the other, obviously not North Pinellas, but whether it's the Elks Lodge or the Odd Fellows or any of the other organizations out here, that might be one more venue.
Great, thank you.
There we
I
go.
will look into that.
Just to clarify, Harry,
Fuller, Fuller. And I can get his contact info for you if you
please.
need
That would
it.
be great,
Yep,
thank
I'll
you.
send it off, yeah.
And I can provide you with additional surveys if you'd like
Perfect.
for the
Yep.
Rotary.
I know how to get in touch with you.
Sorry, additional flyers.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
And Robin, can you give us an update of how many we've had submitted so far?
Last I checked was about an hour ago, and we had 42.
And
How
Paul,
long
can
has
you
it-
give us some context with the county?
Yes, so I think the county had 1,300 out of about 1 million people. So I think we ought to be doing pretty well. I think we're on pace to get a good response.
What's our time frame? Like, how long has it been out and when is the closing, when are you closing?
So it was published at the beginning of this month, I believe. I'll have to check on the exact date. Not sure off the top of my head, but planning to have it available through the end of the workshops, so until the end of May.
Okay, great, thanks.
And something I'm thinking as we're talking with the Beacon article, if we time it right, we're in the process, and Robin will go over this some more on getting the dates set up for the public workshops. It'd be nice to have those dates and have those also put in the story. So talking about Robin's role, talking about the survey, and then also the workshops, like try to get it all in one article.
Good idea.
All right. Any other thoughts or comments on public engagement plan? All right, moving on then to update on the workshops. Robin, you want me to give you a second so you can finish taking notes and then?
Sure, I'll collect myself. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll just need some like intermission music.
Okay, so I don't have a visual for you all yet regarding the workshops, but we've been having many different discussions about the best way to do it to maximize public engagement, and we were picturing 3 round tables that will be consisting of goal areas that are combined based on the 3 pillars of sustainability, economy, environment, and people. So I have grouped for the social, equity and empowerment, health and safety, and education's art and community, for the economic, economy and jobs, and built environment, and for the environment, natural systems, and climate and energy. And each table would have a facilitator of city staff whom I would train prior to the workshop to make sure that they understand what the committee has selected in terms of STAR, what our goals are, and moving forward, what our goals are. So we would have that meeting in advance of the workshop. Additionally, we will try to have some sort of children's table to provide childcare and food available as well. There would also be obviously a check-in table, and we would probably start off the workshop with some sort of introduction for all of the attendees. We'd have a projector and a screen with a short presentation giving them background knowledge. And then in terms of the actual workshop format, everybody would be seated around the round table, and we have the facilitator, and we would have a guided discussion based on questions that relate to the main themes that the committee is interested in terms of the STAR objectives, which you have selected. So we would put a lot of thought into drafting those questions so that we can have meaningful input. And the facilitator would take notes. We would have a giant notepad on an easel, and the facilitator would log main ideas. And individuals would also have notes in front of them and the ability to also log their ideas independently or expand upon anything that they wish. Additionally, we could take that a step further and give all of the participants stickers or Post-it notes that they can go up to the main ideas and post those next to things that they prioritize. And then we'd have an additional way to quantify or visualize what is important to our attendees of this public workshop. The public workshop would be about 2 hours in length. It would be about 20 minutes per table. And then anyone has the ability to return to a table if they felt they didn't have enough time or they want to give additional input. And this would give enough time for the introductory presentation, enough time for all of the individuals to cycle through all 3 tables without feeling too fatigued, hopefully, and then the ability for them to go back and give additional input. So that's the main idea as of now.
If I could add to that, so we've been talking through this quite a bit. One thing I think that might be different than what we originally talked about is attendance of sustainability committee members. We feel very strongly in our recommendation to you that we do it in this format so that we have more like conversations with the groups than a presentation audience style. I think maybe you would all agree at the last meeting we went to at St. Pete College, there was maybe 5 or 6 people that spoke out of a room of 50. We really want to try to get a broader participation than that, and we think that format will do that for us. Because of that, sunshine law requirements, whenever we would have more than one committee member at the meeting, it introduces another level of record keeping. That's really the hitch there, is that there would need to be minutes, and those minutes would need to be transcribed and available. And when you have 3 tables with simultaneous conversations, the clerk was not comfortable with it. We spoke with the city attorney, and he thought that it was really problematic. So he said, really, the options, one of them would be, if you all really feel strongly about attending, one option would be to sign up for one workshop. There's only 3 opportunities, but that would be one way to, one member comes, and that member could introduce the workshop if they wanted to, and even facilitate at a table if they wanted to. That would be flexible. The other option is not to go at all, and we will certainly be reporting back to you with all the details. And don't forget, too, we're going to be having a separate workshop for this committee to give your thoughts to the consultant. We'll talk a little more about that later, but I want you to know you're still going to have a lot of opportunities to participate. But I wanted to advise you that that's the way this is looking in terms of how it would work and be compliant with public records and meeting laws.
I'm gonna question that, Paul. This kind of thing has come up in other committees, and so the Public Art Committee specifically asked for an interpretation from Mr. Trask. And in contrast to what you just said, this is what he said in a memo regarding the Sunshine Law issue of 2 or more PAC members meeting at a location at the same time. And this is coming from his words to Diane Wood. Mr. Trask says that it's okay if the gathering is aimed at research to bring back information to a meeting for discussion. It is called a fact-finding exception to the Sunshine Law. However, the PAC members that meet for research purposes cannot discuss how they will vote on the subject. That's a completely opposite interpretation of what you just said. It means that we can go to First Friday if we're engaged in getting information from the public. We can go to a meeting in multiples of members, as long as we don't discuss how we're gonna vote on it subsequently. And he has also said that the fact-finding exception, well, actually, he told us when he started instructing us that you can talk about anything you want to as long as you're not gonna vote on that topic at a subsequent meeting. So there's never been, I know it's not something he said to us, anything about a clerk being able to take minutes from multiple members. This is a whole new thing. It's never been said before.
Well, I can tell you it's not new in terms of the law, and we spent a good bit of time talking this out and giving the exact scenario that we're talking about. I can't really speak to the Public Art Committee. I even did a little research on my own in addition to talking to the city attorney. I found a presentation that the Department of Environmental Protection uses, and one of their lawyers put together, and it's very consistent. And one of the key points is the Sunshine Law is applied to any gathering of 2 or more members of the same board to discuss some matter which will foreseeably come before the board for action. I mean, I think that's definitely going to come before you all for action, the results of our discussions with the community. And the key is there's 3 basic requirements that once it becomes a Sunshine Law meeting. One is that it has to be open to the public. Well, there's no problem there.
Right.
Reasonable notice, no problem there. But the third one, minutes of the meetings must be taken, recorded, and open to public inspection.
What if 2 of us show up at First Friday with Robin? Do we have to take minutes at First Friday of the conversations that occur between us and the general public?
Well, I think this is a guiding principle. You know, there's some handouts that were provided, I think, to you all upon coming upon the advisory board, and I read through all that because I wanted to see what information you've been working with so far. And it says, the purpose of the Sunshine Law is so that the public can see and hear discussion, thought processes, and positions of members when acting in their official capacity. So it's a pretty broad intent.
I think we need an interpretation from him specifically, because if there is in fact a fact-finding exception, and he has that in italics, bringing back information to a PAC meeting, in this case, a Sustainability Committee meeting for discussion, that's the opposite. That means it's perfectly legal to do that.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to remind you all is we're not here to try to limit what you're doing. We're here to really protect you. The Sunshine Law is very firm, and I understand that the penalties are severe if it's found that it's willful. And that's something that I was advised on. So, I mean, technically, you could all show up to that meeting and swear that you're not going to talk about anything that's going to come before your board later. Technically, you could do that. That's an option. I don't recommend it, though. I think it's fraught with perception problems. If other people see you there, how do they know what you're talking about? But also that you could get yourself in a situation that you don't even realize you're doing something wrong. So I'm trying to give you some practical options here. And I think those are two of the best ones. We can certainly follow up with the question that you asked and get back to you.
It says fact-finding exception in italics, and then it says, however, the PAC members that meet for research purposes cannot discuss how they will vote on the subject. So it doesn't even say they can't discuss a subject that might come before us. It's that they cannot discuss how they will subsequently vote on the subject.
All right, well,
We would probably have to prove that we didn't. So maybe if we all wore wires or recorded the entire meeting, you know.
And I feel like this is just getting like absurd. And I honestly, personally, like I feel like we're in good hands with the city's staff running the roundtables. And I don't feel like I need to personally be there to get the vibe of what the public is wanting from us and feel like they're not going to do due diligence of representing those findings to us. So, I mean, me personally, like I'm understanding that this is the bind that we're in. This is the recommendation from city attorney and from staff. And if anyone, like, maybe we can have a conversation, like, let's do a show of hands. If you're like, I want to be there, I can't miss this.
I don't have any question whatsoever that Robin and Paul and Ashley or anybody else can bring back, correct information to this committee. That's not the question. And, in my mind, that'll never be the question. But we had listening sessions that more than one of us attended virtually last year. And there was never any question that was flying in the face of the Sunshine Law.
But I
I think
think
you were
that this-
observers in that case.
Yeah.
But we
and there was
introduced
no-
ourselves and we had conversations.
But there weren't sidebar conversations either. It was one whole conversation the whole time, which was recorded.
That's true. That's true. And if the question is, if we're breaking up into individual groups, we have to record accurately what is said at each group. Mr. Trask never said anything about that to us when he went over this topic in some detail. That's new.
But I don't know that we were asking him about having subgroups and what the requirements are for that.
Well, all I can say is I have information from another committee like ours, which is a city committee, which seems to say that this isn't a problem. There is something called a fact-finding exception. And certainly going to meetings like this, we're obtaining facts from the public.
So is there a way to get in touch with him and just get a absolutely clarified?
Sure, we'll follow up with that, and we've got one more meeting before all of that, so we can get back to you. We can send an email out even before the meeting and discuss it at the next meeting if needed.
Maybe you want to share that email with Paul.
Of course.
So I'd like to say, Robin, that the way you have the workshop structured sounds really good. I recently was at a city workshop, and I will not say which one, but it was a complete disaster. And it started with presentations. First, that everyone in the room introduced themselves. Then they did presentation. Then they did another presentation and allowed people to ask questions. And then finally, they broke people up into groups. And by that time, I was ready to go home. And they gave no instructions about what to talk about. And even the facilitator had no clue really what to talk about. So it was probably the worst workshop I had ever gone to. So it really sounds as though you are structuring it in a way that starts right away with people talking and knowing what they're going to talk about. And the more specific it can be, the better, and that the facilitator actually sort of knows what he or she is going to be doing was really important. and the upfront time, you know, there has to be some welcome, but that should be minimal. Because people are there to do their job.
Right. I agree. That is definitely the intention, and I'm planning to have all of those guiding questions solidified in advance. There will be basically a script or a guide for facilitators. I will work with them one-on-one in advance, and our goal is also to have the same facilitators at each workshop, which would be great because they'll get better with each
And
one.
continuity.
Right.
Fantastic.
So
Lucky to have you.
I had one.
you.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you.
Awesome, everything you're doing. I just thought of something when we were going over this. So we have the survey here. Is there a kind of like an advertisement for the workshop somewhere like on the survey? Because I feel like that would just kind of like double up like attendance to it.
Not yet. I was waiting on the finalized dates and times, but I agree. I think we absolutely will need to do another push of a similar flyer, and I think that's a good idea to kind of. I can go back and edit the survey and add that in, maybe at the end or the beginning, for some supplemental information.
When will you have the confirmed dates?
I do have 2 tentative dates and times, both in May. One being, I believe, May 26th, which is a Saturday, from 12 to 2 p.m. at the community center. I'm just going to verify that. And the other, that's May 28th. From 12 to 2 p.m. On that Saturday, and the other to take place on the 26th of May from, I think we said 6 to 8 p.m. And the third day and time is yet to be scheduled. There is another topic we did want to speak with you about regarding the workshops. And this was an idea brought forward to us by the Planning and Zoning Committee. The Planning and Zoning Committee feel that our sustainability plan complements their comprehensive plan and vice versa. They want sustainability to be a very integral part of the comprehensive plan. And they think it would be beneficial if we were to do a joint public workshop that we would still do our same format, our same workshop, our same facilitators. They would do their own format, but they would feed into each other. We would encourage members of the public to attend ours and then theirs, or vice versa. And I believe that theirs is not going to be the same style as ours. I think they mentioned that theirs would be more of open house style. So theirs would not probably be quite as intensive as ours. So we wanted to bring that forward for your consideration of potentially doing a joint workshop for a couple different reasons. One being that we can pool our resources and we can work together to do the advertising, to get the push out to the public. We would not only have the community members coming for our sustainability workshop, but those who are coming to attend the comprehensive plan. So we'd potentially be getting a slightly larger audience and a slightly different audience. Furthermore, the comprehensive plan and sustainability plan complement each other, and there are many public workshops going on right now, as you may know, in the city for multiple committees, and the comprehensive plan and the strategic plan all taking place in April and May. So we are kind of cognizant of that workshop fatigue, and we're hoping this could be a way to kind of prevent that. So we wanted to hear your thoughts before scheduling the third workshop.
Just for clarification, so the third workshop would be the combined one, just one?
Just one.
And what format would that have? Would it have their format, the open, or our format?
The idea that they suggested would be to do a venue such as SPC where we'd actually be in two separate rooms. So we'd be conducting our own independent workshop, but we would have staff kind of encouraging participants to attend each and signage encouraging them to attend each. So they would be separate, but taking place, same time, kind of flowing into one another, if that makes sense.
Would that change the 2-hour time format for hours? Because that's a lot.
We have not yet discussed it in depth. That is a consideration that might alter it. It really depends on how you all feel, if you are open to the combined workshop or not, and if so, would you like it to be the exact format of the other two workshops?
I think the main consideration would be that the public would have as much opportunity to express themselves once they are given the structure and some understanding through a short presentation, but that it wouldn't be top-heavy with a lot of conversation that might put people to sleep or prevent them from being engaged. So I'm kind of favoring, although I see the point of joint workshop, I think maybe that can come later, but I don't know that it's really essential for this juncture, because I think that it's going to imbalance what has happened at the other two workshops, and they should all, at least from my perspective, I think they should all be identical in format without introducing another factor that's rather dense in material.
That was the original idea, is to have basically together but separate. You have the same time, same general location, but once you step onto the sustainability side, we're running our own show. So we could make that like the other two, and very brief welcome overview and get right into the individual discussions at the tables.
So my impression is the same as yours. And so I'm, person coming to the committee. Now, I can go to the comprehensive group or the sustainability group. And given that I probably have just a small part of my life, I would probably go to the comprehensive group because it's comprehensive.
But we have a logo.
We have a great logo.
But I think that for consistency and I think it would be a good idea to keep them separate. It just seems confusing what to do. And I think that unless they were really combined, where out of the comprehensive plan, sustainability was a huge chunk of it, then I could see doing it. But having two separate rooms, and I think that the number of people that we would get would be less.
I think it's too much information. I think people are going to start zoning
Yeah.
at a point and not be able to take it in and digest it. And I really would hope that when they're engaged on, about sustainability and the elements of sustainability, that at a later date, they're going to be able to see it more clearly in the comprehensive plan when they're introduced to that. And it'll perk them to, the moments where they're hearing how our sustainability plan is woven into the comprehensive plan and is a priority. Those are just my thoughts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see a joint meeting of P and Z and the comprehensive plan and a fact-finding meeting for our plan to take the place of a workshop between planning and zoning and us. I don't want to confuse the purposes of those two. So I think it'd be better if we were separate.
Yes, and I do plan to address that during the staff comments as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I hear the concern about putting them on the same night. It's kind of like when you go to a conference and there's like those track meetings and you're like, which one do I go to? I can only go to one, because most people aren't gonna do both. I don't think most people are gonna do both. So I hear that concern. I just want to make sure that I have it straight. So May 26th, which is a Thursday, is an evening workshop from 6 to 8. And do we have the location for that?
That will be at the Heritage Museum.
Okay.
Which is Craig Park.
And then the 28th, which is Saturday, is noon to 2 at the community center.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think that we probably should find a third that's a separate night from the planning and zoning comp plan meeting based on the conversation tonight.
Maybe we can like direct people towards the comp plan meeting from whichever one of our meetings is like before it. Be like, hey, they want to incorporate sustainability, go talk to them too.
Well, it can be mutually beneficial, because we could also ask them to give them a copy of our survey, and, and so we can say, by the way, we're trying to combine forces and, complement the comprehensive plan. There is a comprehensive plan meeting on this day. Please get engaged, what have you. And then on their side, maybe they can say the Sustainability Committee is working very hard to bring in, what have you. Please take a survey to let them know how sustainability, because I think there is a way to complement it. I agree with you. If you've ever been to like parent-teacher conferences or what have you, and you're going from like room to room, and by the third time, you're like, I just hope my kid passes. Like, I don't care what they're doing in class. I mean, to your point, it's the same as like you go to these all day long conferences, and by the time that you get to the last one, you're like, I just don't know if I can sit through that one. So it just is a lot to take in, a lot of information.
Yeah, and that's a concept we're also aware of too with these conversations that we're thinking of having at the 3 different tables. We really want to structure it in a way that it's not going on for more than 15 or 20 minutes. I think the average attention span for something like that is probably in that 10 to 15 minute range. So we're cognizant of that as well, and going to really work to try to make the conversation structured in that way.
And just to clarify again, the meeting at the community center, childcare will be provided by the city staff, right? So we can make sure that people understand that they try to encourage more families to come because, right? But the Heritage Museum, there will not be childcare at that meeting, or will there also?
We were thinking of solutions. One we came up with was like a kids table with like coloring books, and we could have a staff member there with them sitting at the table. It might not be to the same level as at the rec center where you have the gym and you have all these fun toys and things, but I think we could still come up with a solution.
Great. I just think that when we're advertising it, that we should make sure that people understand that we want you to come. Even if you have children, please come and bring them in.
And simple food too. I mean, I think we're like pizzas or something simple.
I love it.
And perhaps that third location, perhaps we do it at the community center. We just have a lot of resources there. Rec is able to do the childcare better at that location. The food's easier to do. They've got a kitchen there. So, and it's pretty central to the city. So we haven't really finalized that third location, but it might be 2 community centers and 1 heritage center or something like that.
I would support that. Okay, very good. So any other thoughts about the workshops?
Is there any information that might still be able to go out in the utility bills on April about the workshops?
For April, that may be a possibility. We did put an advertisement in news and notices of the utility bills for March, but that did not, well, it did, I believe, I'll have to revisit the language. It did mention mainly the survey because we had that available at that time. But I think there is potentially still time in April. I have reached out to them about putting in the news and notices again in April, and they were open to that.
Yeah, and this kind of paper is excellent, if that's possible. Just
I'm
to
not-
avoid any criticism.
I did ask, their kind of solution to make it more sustainable was to print it on the bills themselves. So it's not a separate insert. It's printed on the bill that is going to be sent out anyway. It is small, but it's under news and notices right on the bill.
Would it be possible at the workshops to reward people by giving them one of our stickers?
That's a great idea.
Do we have stickers?
Here you go.
Oh, the new logo
Not
sticker.
yet, new logo stickers.
We will.
That's right.
As
say-
long as all of us can get one.
Okay, I'll give a couple provisions, provided that we could get it approved by the rest of the layers, and, but also that it's a cost-effective thing and we can do. But I think it's definitely possible.
They're not expensive.
Oh, and one thing we didn't talk about, Robin, was our thought of how to incorporate the survey into the workshops. We got your feedback before that we don't want to make the workshop about the survey. However, we could have the facilitators remind the participants that on your way out, please, there's either a note card with the address of the survey to do it on your phone, or a paper copy to please fill it out and submit it before you leave. So just another way to promote participation.
Excellent. All right. We've come to the end of our meeting. So early. So we can all get
Patty's Day.
our shamrock on. All right, so then the next,
Is that code for something?
it's St. Patrick's Day, shamrocks.
Greenery.
Rock on, you know. All right, public comments. Welcome any public comments at this time. Would you like to say something?
Not at this time, because I'm too confused between the two, sustainability and your comprehensive. But I guess the more I hear, the better I can understand what you're doing, because right now it's
Well, thank you for coming and participating, and maybe we can do a little recap right now then, so that there's a little more clarity. I'll start maybe and then hand it over to Paul. So the comprehensive plan is the vision for the city, and it's the guiding framework for all of the land development codes which fit underneath that. So what kind of development, what kind of, all of the different ordinances that the city has is the comprehensive plan. And we have one in the books. We do a comprehensive plan update supposed to be about 5 or so years. So the city's in the process of updating the comprehensive plan. Additionally, the city is undergoing a strategic visioning process. So that's a long-term horizon plan of what we would like to see the city look like in 20, 30, 40 years. So it's a more of a visioning session outward into the future, and has similar elements. So some of those components can be put into the comprehensive plan in terms of what residents would like to see the long-term strategic plan look like for the city. The sustainability plan is our city's attempt to create a plan that incorporates all aspects of sustainability. So sustainability, when we're talking about economic sustainability and viability for the city, also the social and the like the people aspects of the city and how we value arts and entertainment, how we value equity and empowerment and engagement, civic engagement with the city and with citizens as a group collectively, and then also the environmental aspects, so the natural systems and how we address climate and energy as a city. So those three, economy, environment, and people, are the main crux of the sustainability action plan. So our committee has been meeting for almost 3 years now. We recently hired a city staff member to be our coordinator for the sustainability work that we do, and then we're writing the action plan right now. So what we're talking about with the public engagement meetings is trying to seek what the public would like to see in the sustainability action plan.
Wow, not much more to say, except we'll add one more thing, and that's how are we gonna marry our sustainability plan in with the comp plan? And there's a couple ways to do it. The comp plan has different elements to it. It could be an element, but what I'm hearing from the pros on the planning side is it's probably gonna be trickled in all the different elements, you know, to form the comprehensive plan with the sustainability considerations. So these are all gonna come together. And I would say we've been doing a lot of partnerships with planning and zoning. That it's easy because they're right across the hall from us. So, I see us working well together on that.
So with the pros, you still have to get the people's input, put in to see what they want, say for the next 20 years or however long
Yes.
it is. I don't know, it seems to me that if you got the pros, I mean, that's what they do, that's their job, but you're gonna get the public input, who probably hasn't got the first clue of how things should be even updated, say for a 20-year period.
Yes.
So there's got bound to be changes, it's just like technology. You got to keep up with the changes, or, you know, you won't be able to function.
That's right. And when I said the pros, I'll clarify, I meant our planning and zoning staff across the hall, but also they have consultants helping them too. And we're both actually working on our public engagement, each of us. So it's all going to be built in to the plans from both sides.
And see, those people, like you said, across the street, they have experience. Some of them are really trained to do that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Anyway, well, I'll get it.
Thank you, though. That's very
I think that
good.
if I can just jump in, it's really important for us to understand what the residents feel is important as well, because the pros that are coming in can kind of dictate what their knowledge, their scope and what have you, and the residents are not being listened to, and that's not their concern. Right, so that's kind of I think for these surveys and the public engagement, that's what we're looking for. So to me, it's a great combination of having the experts who say, you can't do that. Like, there's no way. But then there's also the public that says, you missed the ball, because the residents really feel this is what the concern is. So we're just trying to do a more global approach to it.
Excuse me, please, I forgot to mention, my name is Annie Debs, so.
Hi, Annie, welcome.
Welcome, thank you for
So
coming.
I'd like
Mrs.
to
Debs.
say that this workshop I went to that was a disaster, the so-called pros and experts kept getting things wrong. And the residents had to keep correcting them about what had happened and what the policy was and how things. So the public who lives here, and especially people who have been involved with the city a long time, actually sometimes have really important things to contribute and often know more than the outside consultants do.
They're the ones who's gonna work the plan every day, not the experts, because they probably live somewhere else or
Right.
going somewhere else.
Right.
I'd like to add one more thing, is that, you know, every city is required by the state to write a comprehensive plan. And we all looked at the state statutes on what that should include. And it was really interesting because it's so, it really elegantly describes a lot of aspects of sustainability within each section that the city is supposed to write. But then it gets to the very end of that, and it talks about, you know, the adherence to protecting people's individual property rights, which is really held very high in a lot of states and a lot of cities. So from my perspective, at least, just as a citizen, I'm thinking if my neighbor is using poisons, for instance, that on his property that I really don't want to have drift to my property, I hope that at some point I can have a discussion and, you know, have a little bit of education. And that's just a really small example, but I think that what we're hoping for in a lot of ways with engaging the public is opening up a higher level of awareness. If they've never heard the word sustainability and they've never thought about, well, what kind of Tarpon Springs is my grandchild going to live in? And that is where it really is important to not only open the minds of people to a higher level of awareness, but really open their hearts to hearing the need, the absolute necessity for considering future generations.
All right, thank you for coming, for asking
Thank you.
questions. I think this was a really good little conversation that we were able to have this evening, so appreciate that. All right, moving on then to staff comments. I think we've got some updates, right, on some
We
of the
do.
projects?
Yes, we have a couple things here. So the first, I believe it was asked at the last meeting when the Whitcomb Bayou team would be coming back to the Sustainability Committee, and they are planning to come back again in June when they're further along in their process. So there will be another opportunity to speak with them, most likely in our June meeting. Another item is we communicated to Planning and Zoning the committee's desire to be involved, of course, in the comprehensive plan. I'm very on topic right now, which is great. And we asked how they visualize that would be done. How would the consultant engage with the Sustainability Committee, again, to get more one-on-one input? And their suggestion is that we can right away provide the consultant with the star tables and materials that you all have already created, showing what your interests are, where you want our plan to go, that work you've already put in. We can share that with the consultant, so that will be considered from now while they're conducting their future workshops and while they're writing. And then they plan to also utilize the results of our sustainability workshops and incorporate that as well as their workshops in that public engagement section. Then they would like to do, after that point, once they have something written, a draft, they want to come do a one-on-one and kind of go through it with you all to hear your input and then make corrections and go from there. So I think they wanted to hear how you felt about that plan.
I think that sounds pretty reasonable
Okay,
for that.
great. And then
One question. Why do they want to wait till a lot of things are done to meet with the group? Why not meet with us earlier?
I think they feel it will be more constructive when there's an actual draft, something to look at, and then it would be early on in the stages of that draft that they could still change directions or change things. But that it would probably be, their thought is it would probably be more constructive if there is that sort of initial start, something written that you all could review prior, and they will, of course, be familiar with it, and then can give your feedback. It would probably be a constructive meeting. But that being said, they are open to us sending already what you have done and the star, and then incorporating that even from now as they move forward. Okay, and the third item, at the last meeting, it was brought up that the economy and jobs section was lacking. It needed more input from our staff. And since then, we've worked with our economic development director, and she is on board. She agrees 100%. I think some things were lost in translation when we were initially reaching out to try to receive input. I think the STAR framework is confusing for those who aren't familiar with it or what our intentions were, but we met with her, and she is working now to provide more in-depth feedback, and we'll be presenting that at the next meeting.
Oh, good. Okay. Will she be here? Yes?
Yeah, that's the
Karen,
plan.
right?
Karen, have Karen come back, and
Great.
if she is able to get done what she needs to get done by the next meeting, if not, it would be the one after. But we talked about some different ways she's going to develop some more ideas, including talking to some of her peers in the other cities and, getting some ideas on related to STAR and what we've recommended.
Thinking about sending what we've written thus far, which is understandably draft form, I think there are some areas in which what we put in writing in various sections of the STAR platform would be altered by what we learned at the task force meeting and what we received in writing from departments in the city. So I don't know that we'd want to send everything as we originally sent, put it in writing. I think some things would need to be changed. Not huge changes, but some changes before they were sent to the consultants.
Yeah, we plan to do that. I think Robin already has put some notes together on how the STAR framework would be modified based on the input. And we'll work to get that drafted before we send that to them. So basically the latest draft.
That is all of my comments. Paul, I don't know if you have any additional comments.
Can't think of anything else.
All right, so committee comments.
Well, since we seem to have some time, Robin sent to the members of the committee some results of surveys that were conducted regarding, the general populace's impression of the impact of climate change. And there were 3 graphs that she sent you. One showed a significant change in Americans' concern about harms from climate change between 2016 and 2021. And the most remarkable change is the number of Americans, or percentage of Americans, that are alarmed about climate change jumping during that period of time from 18% to 33%. In the graph on the back page, it showed that now more than half of Americans, 55%, believe that people's health is being impacted right now or being harmed right now by global warming, and that's a significant change over a 6-year period. And then the final graph shows that the number of Americans who think that global warming harms to multiple aspects of human health will become more common. This information was shared with 5 members of Congress, not last Monday, but the Monday before, by a group of physicians that represents Florida Clinicians for Climate Action. And the next page shows the talking points that were shared with the members of Congress as well. So it's interesting, it shows quite a sea change in, the average American's concept of how impactful climate change is being right now, specifically on human health.
We still have work to do because the other day, my husband was having a conversation with a neighbor who, and talking about our voyage and climate change, and was told that climate change doesn't exist. So, I mean, we still have work to do. Even though
noticed-
these are very good results.
Did you notice, though, in the survey, there are the entrenched
There's the
that don't
the
change?
dismissive 9% haven't changed at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they probably won't change.
But they'll benefit from the rest of us.
That's right.
And as much as we can depolarize the discussion and depoliticize it, the better off we are. Because we really, if you get into anything about politics, it always automatically will drive people in opposite directions. It's just the environment right now. But hopefully we can have discussions about climate, just noticing the intensity. I had never heard of bomb cyclones until just this year. And my sister on the West Coast experienced these tremendous rains that it went from the lakes being too low and her pond being at the point where they thought that their koi were going to die, to having that pond overflow and almost come into the house within about a 24-hour period. And that's unheard of. So there's a lot of things that, we can ask to initiate the conversation. Have you noticed more extreme events, or have you ever heard of that before? I mean, what Australia is going through right now is exactly that same type of event. They had fires last year, and they had this severe flooding. Last year it was in Europe, severe flooding. And everybody sees that on the news.
Yeah.
Those are good opportunities without being polarizing. And sometimes it's awesome just to not even use the words that are going to trigger reactions.
I think that's really important.
Reframe it, or, use a different terminology.
Well, I'd like to say thank you, Paul, for being one of those physicians that were representing climate to our elected officials and helping to educate them on not only the issue itself, but on public perception, and how, as more and more of the population recognize that this is a problem, that's where change starts to happen, hopefully. So, especially with like budget season and things like that, that's part of it is how we're spending our tax dollars to combat this, right? Not just building higher roads, but also reducing the emissions that are causing the problem and making sure that people are aware that it's a two-part issue.
How was the reaction from the officials?
It depends on who it is.
It's a tough audience, it seems like.
Yeah, and it depends on who it is, and it depends on the age of the person you're talking to. So, 2 of my colleagues kind of went toe-to-toe with Representative John Ferguson, who I think we would put in the dismissive circle, and yet, if we were talking to a young staff member, and it could be a young staff member for, Senator Scott, young people know this is true. And in fact, if you were to go to a talk by the president and the vice president of the Young Republicans Club of the United States, as I did a couple of years ago, their perspective on climate change is exactly the same as that of young Democrats. It's their older generation that are in denial, some of them, not all of them.
And how about Senator Scott and Rubio? How did they respond to?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't talk to the members of Congress in that instance. We talked to their staff members, but I could give you a blow-by-blow of what we got from Senator Scott, from his staff, two staff members. He is very interested in restoring the Everglades. He's interested in providing money for the state of Florida and other, and for prevention. And the staff member was very easy to talk to. That wasn't true of everybody. And we know that it's not going to be. So it's a mixed bag. If we had the luxury of waiting until the youngest politicians on the Republican side of the aisle were then members of Congress, we wouldn't have a problem. It's the older generation that we can find some denial in, but they are coming to the table, as Dory indicated, and as we've seen in Florida, in terms of prevention, without saying what the cause of the problem is. That's movement.
That's movement.
I will also tell you that, and this is a totally different thing. I know of, because of, at the meeting that kind of kicked this whole process off, there are 2 children's books out now on climate change. And the purpose of the 2 books is to tell kids who are aware of the issue and the problems, hey, there are ways of dealing with it. One of it is called Coco's Fire, C-O-C-O, and that's available from Amazon. And the author there is Wurtzel. And the other one is called Fur and Feather Stand Together, and that's really a cute book. That is not available except through its own website online, on Google.
The title.
And I know it begins with a G, but I can't think of the author's name. But the purpose of this is to give kids who are worried about the problem some hope.
I think one of the biggest pop examples of the shift happening is the Super Bowl commercials where they spent considerable money to talk about, I think, 2 of the major car manufacturers, Ford and Chevy, to talk about their electric vehicles coming. And I think that says a lot.
One of the interesting comments, to be specific, that came back to us from one of the staff members was, well, we believe in technology and we believe in Americans' ability to innovate and lead the world, but we need the technology to evolve. And I said, excuse me, the technology exists. It's called solar and wind and geothermal, et cetera. It exists right now. Well, we need for the technology to become more efficient. And Ankush Bensal, who's an internist in Palm Beach, said, excuse me, electric vehicles are more efficient than fossil fuel vehicles right now. Electric power stations are more efficient. And he went on and on. So, yeah, okay. We're waiting for pie in the sky by and by. No, the technology's there now.
And the cost of gas is going up and
Well,
up, so.
Good steps forward. Baby steps.
I have a procedural question in committee comments, and is that, are you writing the agendas for the next meeting? Because we stopped setting agenda items for the next meetings. So is that because we have somebody that can do it? Or are we supposed to still set the agenda for the following meeting?
That's a good
Just
point,
question.
Denise. Yeah, no, that's a good point. If there's something that you'd like to have on it, then,
Then I
That
should
would
send
be-
it to Robin?
do you
or-
have it right now that you
No,
can think of?
not
Okay.
yet. I'm trying to line some things up with the waste, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, for our next meeting, we should have that as an agenda item, I think. Items for the next meeting. Thank you for.
I would like to make a comment. I sent an email out to Robin last night, and I'm so glad you didn't answer that last night. I'm like, if she answers this after 5 o'clock, we have real problems. So, but I do appreciate you getting back to me. I actually noticed on somebody's Facebook feed a comment about picking up their campaign signs from the candidates, and one of the candidates mentioned, "Don't worry, I'll come by and pick them up and throw them away." And so my response was, please don't do that. Consider, they cannot be recycled in the curbside recycling because they're corrugated plastic. But the aluminum stakes can certainly be recycled, even if you, I mean, you might get like a nickel if you take every single campaign sign out there and bring the aluminum. You might get a nickel for it because it's not worth much. But one of the comments that I suggested to them was, please don't put it in your recycling because then all your recycling it's contaminated. They won't take, they'll take your recycling, but your recycling will not be then recycled. And so, because I just kind of was reading on it. And so I suggested rather than having them collected and thrown in the landfill, perhaps that could go on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist as a freebie to somebody who might want to paint over them for like a yard sale sign or like a feel-good sign in your yard or what have you. So if you know any of the candidates out there who are either picking up their signs or your neighbors have them, and you know of somebody who maybe is having a yard sale or something, because as Robin pointed out, some communities do have them, but our county, I don't even think our county anywhere in Pinellas has a recycling for that corrugated plastic. But if anybody can come up with a great solution, if anybody has ideas, if we want some of them, as I know you said if I could find any extras, you'll take them, but those might be something that we collect and paint over and put for our sustainability committee, like our workshops, is that goes in and says workshop here or what have you. So it's just, if you saw how many yard signs are out there, and that's just for Turpin Springs, they're all gonna end up in a landfill. So if you can encourage your neighbors or anybody else to maybe do something different with them other than just throw them away.
Well,
It'll be burned.
having two candidates on my street, they all picked up their own. And I think the candidates have picked up their own. So maybe just an email to each of the candidates, which Irene could do, to collect them. I think could be helpful, and we
Yeah, it was
could
just
have them and.
Very,
and-
very eye-opening when somebody said, don't worry, I'll come by and pick them up and throw them all away. And I was like, ooh, that can't be good. There's got to be something else. And so I appreciate, Robin, your response on that, yeah, absolutely. Like, there isn't really anything, I don't think, in the community that allows us to recycle those. I think we could drive them up to Maryland and I think Maryland has it. But there are other uses for those. And actually, kind of fun if you go on and look to see what other things you can make out of them. Like, you can literally make like little boxes for like, kids' toys or what like, so there are other uses other than throwing them away.
You can put paint on them and, mix paint and paint with them. There's lots of things you can do with them. Make little, like when you work, sometimes you need something that's, sturdy to put, some dirt on, or, there's all sorts of times. I mean, I've used them in the yard and for different purposes.
Shoot, if anybody's thinking of running, maybe you can just take them and you can just ride over them. For next time.
Whitewashing them.
That's right, just throw a little whitewash on. So that was, so thank you, Robin, for getting back to me, but if you can encourage anybody that you see with signs still in their yard
That's
not to
really
pick them
great.
up and throw them away, that'd be great.
And a quick update, so I did go ahead and send the NOAA report out to all of the commissioners and the mayor, and my understanding is that if they're on that, all of the candidates were also on that list. So the new commissioners will also have gotten the new NOAA report with the updated projections of sea level rise, the very scary projections.
Do we have that? The NOAA report? Did you send it to us?
I mentioned
That
it
was
at
in the last meeting.
Yeah, I think it's in the backup.
It's in the backup of the previous meeting.
Oh, okay. Then I must have it.
Is
And
there,
obviously didn't read it.
is there a period of time where you might address the new commission coming in to let them know what we did from the beginning to now, so that we're not just going in with this new commission? Is there anything on the agenda for you to kind of give a recap to the new commission?
So they'll be in their first official meeting in April, about a month from now.
Let's do it then.
You got me.
Welcome. Bye.
Give it 3 months?
Okay, maybe, yeah.
But I was thinking similarly that we should time our committee update with that in mind.
Yeah, and then is budget season now? Like if we're talking about like wanting to get more sustainability items into the budget, like maybe we need to add that to next month's conversation.
Good idea.
So be brainstorming. There's a to-do for the month. Yes.
Great idea.
Yeah, I have been working on that, actually. I've been meeting with finance and getting a draft together.
Awesome. So
So we
maybe you
will
can.
be having a sustainability budget. Yay! Mainly promotional budget.
Modest at first.
Modest, but
It's a start.
it's a start.
Create a
Last
dream
time.
list.
Well, we did. We put
last
together a
time,
list
we
of-
didn't, it wasn't on the budget, and look what we got.
But we
Just
did
by
put, we
being
did put a list of
proactive.
items and we did provide, because at one of the meetings where we presented about what we were doing, the commission asked for a, like a monitorized wish list. So they have seen that, so, and I'm sure that you have a copy of it, Robin. If not, we can make sure that you have that.
But let's review that.
But
Ah,
yeah,
that's
I think that
crucial.
that would be good to review at the next meeting, and then also maybe talk, you can give us some input, if you can, I don't know if you're at a point where you can share. And then maybe be thinking about adding things to, or reappraising where we're at with that.
I think it would be very productive to prioritize that as well, so that I know as staff, when we present to the city manager, we give a priority, and for the reason that if there's never enough money to go around, but that helps pick the things that you want to bring forward.
And then you mentioned Arbor Day. Are we participating in that at all? Is there, I mean, it's not until after the next meeting, right? So we can talk about it next meeting?
Yeah, we can talk about it the next meeting. I met with Carrie from the library the other day, and she mentioned that they do an Arbor Day, Earth Day, like week-long event where they have tables out with informational materials, and they do giveaways all week long. So they typically, Shannon, the arborist, gives out things, and she maybe even gives trees, I'm not sure. And then they give out seeds, they have the seed library. So right now we don't really have any promotional items really for sustainability, but I was thinking we could definitely put our materials there, and I could potentially be there and greet people on Arbor Day and on Earth Day. And I was encouraging some members of our sustainability staff team to also think about how they could be involved, and if they have any promotional items that might be relevant to sustainability, like water test kits and things like that, then we can have those available. And so there's nothing concrete yet, but that was my thought of how to engage with it.
Since, our next meeting, I think, is the day before Earth Day. But if there's going to be week-long activities at the library, it might be really nice to introduce reduce your use or reduce your waste. What you
Yeah.
presented last time, and just give people a list of ideas on how to reuse and reduce waste.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
All right, that was what I had. Anybody else? All right, then we are going to go ahead and,
Oh, I was just gonna say I want stickers with the logos on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would go well on a Prius bumper, I think.
It would.
Yes.
I think they say magnets are more sustainable.
Right, than stickers.
True.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
good idea, good idea. All right, well then we will go ahead and adjourn at 7:29. Excellent, thanks y'all.